Afternoons are usually very quiet at this age. The sunlight moves slowly across the window frame, settling on the armchair where I sit every day. Nothing special happens. No crying, no bad news. Just an afternoon exactly like hundreds of afternoons before it. I am 90 years old this year, and if you look at my life from the outside, it probably looks fine. I was never involved in scandal, never labeled a failure. No one ever pointed at me and said I had done something wrong. I did what was expected. I lived neatly. I didn't cause trouble for anyone. All my life, I was praised for being well behaved, knowing when to stay quiet, knowing how to yield, knowing how to choose the safe path. And I believed that meant I was living correctly. But it's strange. The closer I get to the end of my life, the more I feel something that's hard to name. Not sadness, not exactly regret in a loud, dramatic way. Just a dull, lingering emptiness, as if something slipped past me without my noticing. I sit here now, looking back at nearly a century of living, and ask myself a question I never dared to ask before. If no one ever said I failed, then why do I feel like I was wrong, not because I did something bad, wrong because there were so many things I did not do, words I never spoke, choices I never dared to choose, desires I folded away simply because I was afraid of disappointing someone. There was no moment that marked that mistake, no warning bell. It just grew very slowly in silence, and by the time I realized it, I was already sitting here alone in this late afternoon light, wondering whether a lifetime of safety was truly a life lived right. Perhaps it's because I grew up in a time when people always said that living peacefully was enough. You didn't need to stand out, didn't need to be better than anyone else. Just be stable, don't cause trouble, don't upset anyone. And if you could do that, you were considered a good person. I heard those words my entire life, from my parents, from teachers, from neighbors, from the very people who loved me. They didn't ask me to achieve great success. They only hoped I wouldn't do anything wrong, wouldn't make anyone worry, wouldn't be too different. So I learned to choose what was safe, a stable job instead of an uncertain dream, silence instead of words that might cause disagreement, decisions that reassured everyone else even when I wasn't sure they were what I wanted. And society praised those choices. They called them maturity, adulthood, being reasonable. I was praised for being easy to live with, easy to work with, easy to please. I wasn't someone who disappointed others. In truth, I tried very hard not to disappoint anyone. I was never fired, never labeled a failure. I don't have dramatic stories to tell. Looking back, my life appears quite tidy, almost no visible scratches at all. But that is exactly what confuses me, because if everything was right, why do I feel empty? Not all the time, just occasionally, in very quiet moments, when no one needs me to play the role of the well-behaved person anymore. That feeling isn't violent. It doesn't arrive like a shock. It simply exists, quietly, like a question that was never asked out loud. So I began to remember my life in stages, not to search for a great mistake, but to see how exactly I made my choices. When I was young, I had things I wanted, not grand dreams, just very personal thoughts. Things I meant to say then held back. I could have spoken up when something felt wrong, but I didn't. I thought silence would be safer. I could have chosen a different path, Not necessarily better, just more true to me. But I didn't. I was afraid of disappointing others, afraid of being judged impulsive, afraid of being wrong. Then I entered middle age, when responsibilities grew, when safe choices began to feel inevitable. I continued doing what I had always done, keeping everything moderate, not going too far, not wanting too much. I could have stopped and asked myself whether I was happy, but I didn't. I was busy, and honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. I could have spoken about what I felt, but I thought keeping it inside would be easier, less trouble, less discomfort for others. And then without realizing it, I grew old. Looking back, what surprises me most is not what happened, but what didn't happen. No major crisis, no moment when everything collapsed. My life passed by very smoothly, too smoothly. I could have lived a little differently, but I didn't. I could have taken one risk, but I didn't. I could have chosen myself instead of choosing safety, but I didn't. And no one told me that was wrong. No one warned me. No one reminded me. Everyone thought I was fine. I thought I was fine too. Until there was nothing left to prove, no one left to please. Just me sitting with myself looking back at a life with no crack, large enough to be called a mistake. Perhaps that is what frightens me the most, that my greatest mistake was not doing something bad, but never being seen as wrong at all, and because of that, never truly daring to live in my own way. That thought hovers inside me, not clear, not conclusive, but enough to make me understand that perhaps what I called living right was still missing something very important. After a long time sitting with these thoughts, I began to realize something I had never truly faced before. My life was not wrong because I did something bad. I never intentionally hurt anyone. I never betrayed, never deceived, never abandoned someone when they needed me most. If you look only at what I did, it is hard to say that I lived wrongly. But the problem lies elsewhere. It lies in what I did not do. I did not live truthfully with myself, not because I didn't know what I wanted, but because I always believed my desires mattered less than other people's sense of peace. I thought that if everyone else was fine, then I would be fine too. But it turns out that isn't true. Some mistakes arrive loudly. You recognize them the moment they happen. You know you chose wrong. You feel pain, regret, and sometimes you even get a chance to fix them. But there are other mistakes, very different ones. They don't create a moment of dramatic regret. They don't arrive in a single day. They stretch out thin, slow, until you don't realize you've been carrying them your entire life. I don't have a single day I can point to and say, if only I had done something differently then. I don't have one specific decision to blame, and that's why my regret doesn't flare up and fade away. It stays, quietly, like an underground current flowing for years. The older I get, the more I understand that living right doesn't mean living without mistakes. No one can do that. Living right means living with your choices, even when they're imperfect. It means daring to choose, daring to bear the consequences, daring to stand on the side of what you believe is true. I was different. I spent my entire life avoiding having to choose. I chose what carried the least risk, what upset the fewest people, what exposed me to the least judgment. And because of that, I rarely had to face failure. That sounds good. But looking back now, I see how dangerous it was, because society never warns you when you live too safely. No one comes to you and says you're missing your own life. They only praise you for being stable, reasonable, proper, and you believe it. You believe you're on the right path. There's no notification telling you that you just passed up something important. No clear sign that you chose comfort over truth. Everything just keeps moving along perfectly ordinary. So ordinary that unless you stop long enough, you'll never notice. I never had an aha moment when I was young. No morning where I woke up and said, from today on, I'll live differently. I just kept going day after day, believing I still had time, believing the right moment would come. But time doesn't ask for your permission. It just keeps moving. And then one day you look back and realize you've lived a very long time without truly living fully. Not because you lacked opportunity, but because you were always waiting for permission to live your own life, a permission that in the end never arrived. That's when I understood this, the fact that no one ever called me a failure was not a blessing. It was a warning that came too late. Because if I had failed, perhaps I would have known I was going the wrong way. If I had been challenged, maybe I would have been forced to look again. But because everything was so smooth, I slipped without ever noticing. My greatest mistake left no visible mark. It has no clear shape I can point to. It's simply the feeling that I lived a life that was very correct, but not necessarily mine. And when I finally accepted that, not to punish myself but to understand, I realized this living well is not about pleasing everyone. Living well is not betraying what matters most to you just to buy a temporary peace. Now at this age, I don't have many chances to start over, but at least I can name it. I can speak this truth even if it's late, that there are mistakes that make no noise, cause no immediate pain, yet quietly take so much from you. And when you finally notice what remains isn't collapse, but a very quiet question. A question I carry with me every day sitting here as the afternoon light slowly fades. Now as I sit here and look back on everything, what I want most is not to be remembered. I don't need my name spoken. I don't need anyone to say I lived an admirable life. At this age, those things no longer matter. What I wish simply is that I had lived a little more truthfully, not louder, not more recklessly to prove anything, just brave enough to choose what I truly wanted while it was still small. Brave enough to say what needed to be said before silence became a habit. Brave enough to accept that sometimes disappointing others is the price of not abandoning yourself. I'm not telling this story to teach anyone a lesson. Honestly, I don't think I'm in a position to advise anyone anymore. I'm only sharing what I came to understand when everything slowed down, when there was no longer so much left to chase. You may be listening and thinking that you still have time. I thought that too. I believed there would be a better moment, a day when things felt clearer, more certain. But life rarely gives you a perfect moment to start living honestly. Most of the time it just passes, quietly, ordinarily. If there's one thing I want to leave here, it's just a question I've carried through the final years of my life. You don't have to answer it now. Just let it sit with you. Are you living your life, or are you living so that no one is disappointed? If this story makes you pause for even a moment, then perhaps it has done the only thing I hoped it would. And if you want, you can share it with someone, or leave a line about the one thing you've been avoiding for far too long. Just something small, 'cause sometimes it's the small things that truly mattered.